It was Friday night, and the rooftop bar was already buzzing by the time I arrived. The whole place had this vintage vibe, moody lighting, jazz on vinyl, waitstaff in suspenders like we were in a Gatsby reboot. Our company threw one of these parties every quarter. Usually Becca and I would show up together, but she texted earlier saying she was running late, helping a dev team guy prep for his pitch. I didn't think twice. That's who she was, a grinder, always the last one out of the office. I ordered a bourbon neat and a Pinot Grigio, her usual. The bartender gave me a nod like he remembered. I figured I'd hold her drink until she showed. I was halfway through my bourbon when I heard it, that laugh. Becca's laugh. Except this time it was louder, sharper, almost performative. I turned toward the sound and saw her across the room, right hand on Jason's forearm, leaning in close like they were sharing a secret. Jason. From IT. Divorced last year, known for giving awkwardly long handshakes and calling everyone chief. The guy who once told Becca at a happy hour that she deserved better when I'd stepped away to take a call. I set both drinks down and walked over. My heart didn't race. It didn't have to. Something deeper settled in, that numb kind of knowing you feel before the crash. She flinched when she saw me, just slightly. Like I'd shown up to a place I wasn't supposed to be. What's going on? I asked. Calm. Direct. Becca blinked, smile freezing mid-sentence. Jason was telling a joke. I looked at Jason, who looked anywhere but me. You didn't look like coworkers. She shrugged like she was brushing lint off her dress. You're overreacting. Seriously, Jake, don't make a scene. It's work. She said it like I was the one embarrassing her. Like I was the problem for noticing. The room didn't go silent or anything dramatic like that, but a few heads turned. A couple of her teammates definitely heard. I could feel the subtle shift, that invisible line between private tension and public discomfort. I didn't say anything else. I just walked away. But something cracked open inside me right then, not anger. Not jealousy. Just that gut-deep awareness. She lied. Easily. Comfortably. Like it was a language she already spoke. Let me know what you'd like to change, tweak, or expand before we move to part 2. Remember that each part must contain strictly 7,000 characters. Make this part longer. ChatGPT. Absolutely. Here's part 1, the first blow in front of everyone, but it's not what you think, now extended to approximately 7,000 characters to fit your structure. It's told in first person, keeping the emotional realism and narrative flow central to the experience. Part 1, the first blow in front of everyone, but it's not what you think. It was a Friday evening in early May, the kind that feels like the city itself is exhaling, warm breeze, sun slipping behind the Nashville skyline, the start of something that could be a great weekend if you let it. The company had rented out a rooftop bar downtown for our quarterly social, real swanky stuff. Vinyl spinning through speakers instead of a playlist, bartenders in bow ties, waiters in suspenders. Classy but not stiff. I arrived solo. Becca had texted me an hour earlier, running late, stuck helping Jason with the prototype pitch. Shouldn't be too long, laptop computer rocket. No red flags. Becca's always been the overachiever type, the kind who'd stay late to help someone else meet a deadline even if her own work was already spotless. It's one of the things I admired about her. Or used to admire, I guess. I ordered a drink for myself, bourbon, neat, and a Pinot Grigio for her. Her favorite. The bartender handed them over with a nod like he'd served us before. Probably had. These events were our little rituals. We'd make a night of it, dress up a bit, tease each other about who was drinking what. Sometimes I'd catch her dancing with her friends, eyes closed, arms up, while I nursed a drink and smiled like an idiot because that was my wife and she looked happiest in motion. Tonight was different. I wasn't worried yet, just distracted. I stood at the edge of the bar, scanning the place, nodding at coworkers I didn't want to small talk with. The bourbon burned a little more than usual, or maybe I was drinking it faster than usual. Then I heard it, Becca's laugh. It was unmistakable, that high, bright ring she only let out when she wanted to be heard. Not her real laugh, the one she gave me when we were curled up watching stand-up or she was 3 drinks deep and relaxed. No, this was the curated version, the one she used at work events when she wanted to come off fun, easygoing, a team player. It was too big, too clean, too polished. And it didn't match the words in her text. I turned instinctively. And froze. She was already there. Not walking in, not arriving late like she said. She was across the room. Standing close to Jason. That Jason, tall, gym-fit but desk-bound. With a freshly divorced sheen and a reputation for being too friendly. He was the kind of guy who compliments your wife in front of you and thinks it's a flex. I've seen the way he looks at her in meetings. like he's trying to undress her thoughts. And there they were, her hand on his arm, leaning in, whispering something that made him grin like a teenager. His fingers brushing her wrist in a way that was too familiar. I stood there for a beat too long, trying to convince myself it wasn't what it looked like, that surely it wasn't that kind of interaction. Maybe she had just arrived and he was saying something funny. Maybe she hadn't seen me. Maybe it was nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Felt rehearsed, comfortable, and I felt something in me sink. I took the Pinot in one hand, left the bourbon behind, and crossed the room. I wasn't loud. I didn't storm up or demand anything. I just walked, calmly, slowly, like I was walking into something I already knew the shape of. She saw me halfway there. Her smile twitched. She straightened just a little, adjusted her posture like someone caught doing something they couldn't explain. I stopped right in front of them. "What's going on?" I asked, voice even. Becca blinked at me, then smiled, tight, uneasy. "Jason was telling a joke," she said, stepping back like the space between them hadn't been an asterisk made 2 seconds earlier. "It was stupid. You're jealous now." I stared at her. She looked past me, then back at Jason. He suddenly found something on his phone very interesting. "You didn't look like coworkers," I said. Jason opened his mouth, maybe to throw in some lame defense, but Becca cut in. "You're overreacting," she said, sharp and dismissive. "Seriously, Jake, don't make a scene. It's just work." Her tone had changed. No more awkward laugh. No softness. Just annoyance. Like I was embarrassing her. Don't make a scene. That phrase hit harder than it should have. Because it wasn't about the truth. It was about optics. It was about her image. I nodded. Once. Just once. And I walked away. No shouting. No threats. No asking Jason to step outside. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, the damage had already been done. Not by the physical closeness or the hand on the arm, but by how effortlessly she lied. She had texted me 45 minutes ago saying she was still at work. And yet, here she was, already here, laughing, cozy, completely unbothered. And when caught, she didn't flinch, didn't apologize. She just pivoted. And that did something to me. I went back to the bar. My bourbon was still sitting there, now watered down. I drank it anyway. The ice didn't sting as much as her voice had. People mingled around me, talking about product launches and office gossip, and I nodded when I had to. But everything was muffled, like I'd suddenly dropped underwater and everyone else kept moving above the surface. I sipped my drink and kept one eye on Becca and Jason across the rooftop, watching how they suddenly kept a careful distance. Too careful now. Performative, like they were acting the part of colleagues under surveillance. But it was too late. I'd already seen what they were like when they thought no one was watching. Later, someone asked where Becca was. I shrugged. "Oh, I think she's around here somewhere," I said. "She came with a coworker." I made it sound normal, casual. But inside, my stomach was tight. Not with rage. Not even sadness. With clarity. Clarity that something had shifted. That laugh? The too familiar whisper? The way her eyes flicked between Jason and me. Calculating? Those were not the moves of a woman trying to surprise her husband with a drink and a smile. No, that was someone who'd already made a choice. The only surprise was that I'd seen it before she was ready for me to. I didn't sleep that night. Becca came home late, said she grabbed a drink with a few people from work after the party. I didn't ask who. I just nodded from the couch, where I'd been pretending to watch ESPN with the volume low. She kicked off her heels by the door, humming some tune like the evening had been nothing but normal. She didn't mention Jason. Didn't ask why I left the party early. She walked straight into the bathroom, and I heard the water running a minute later, the sound of everything being washed down the drain. I stared at the dark TV screen, catching my own reflection. And for the first time, I didn't recognize the guy staring back. The next morning, the cracks started showing everywhere. Not in Becca. In me. It was like I'd suddenly stepped behind a curtain and could see the strings she'd been pulling. Things I'd ignored, brushed off, or rationalized because I didn't want to believe she could be anything but loyal. But now I couldn't unsee them. like how her weekend strategy sessions had doubled in the past 2 months. I used to be proud of how dedicated she was. While most people used Saturdays to sleep in or brunch, she was up early, heading to the office with her laptop and coffee like a soldier on a mission. She said they were team-building sprints. The grind never sleeps, she joked once. But now I realized she always wore makeup to those sprints. Not the quick mascara and lip balm kind. Full face. Liner. Lipstick. Perfume. The good perfume, the one I bought her for our anniversary and she once said was too special for every day. I'd watch her from the kitchen, pouring coffee into a tumbler, her heels clicking across the floor. She used to kiss me goodbye. Lately, she just said, "Don't wait up." And I didn't. Because I trusted her. God, I really did. Then there was the phone. Becca used to leave it everywhere: nightstand, bathroom counter, couch cushions. I used to joke she was going to lose it one day and blame me. But lately, it was always with her. Face down. On silent. When it buzzed, she didn't check it in front of me. Sometimes I'd walk into the room and she'd angle the screen away. I teased her once, "What, you working for the CIA now?" She gave a tight smile and said, "I just don't want distractions." But it wasn't the words that stuck with me, it was her voice. Flat. Like a wall going up mid-sentence. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Her laptop used to be open on the kitchen table while she worked. Now she kept it in the guest room, door shut. I tried knocking once to ask what she wanted for dinner and she opened it just a crack, like a kid hiding a mess. "I'm in the zone," she said. "Sure," I said. But I stood outside the door a few seconds longer than I meant to, listening. No keyboard clicks. Just silence. Then there were the excuses. The meetings that popped up last minute. The calls she took from the car, always in the driveway with the engine off and the windows cracked. One day I walked out to grab the mail and saw her in the driver's seat, phone to her ear, laughing like a teenager. When she saw me, she straightened and waved like everything was normal. She told me later it was just work stress relief. "Jason's hilarious," she said, "too fast. He keeps things light." Jason again. I never mentioned it. Maybe I didn't want to know how often he came up in conversation. I tried to get us out of it. Out of the tension. Out of my own head. One night, I suggested we go away, just the two of us. There's this cabin up in the Smokies we used to dream about renting one fall. Fireplace, no reception, just trees and quiet. I brought it up while we were both brushing our teeth, side by side at the sink like we used to be in sync. She paused mid-rinse and looked at me like I just asked her to elope. "Now's not the time," she said, wiping her mouth. "Jason's product launch is coming up. I need to be there." You need to be there, I thought. For Jason? But I said nothing. Instead, I nodded like I understood. Like it was completely rational for my wife to decline a weekend with me because some divorced coworker needed her moral support. That night, I stared at the ceiling while she typed away in the next room. I couldn't shake the image of her at that bar, hand on Jason's arm, leaning in like they were orbiting some private sun. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid. That maybe this was just the natural erosion of marriage. People grow distant. Life gets busy. Things slip. Maybe it wasn't betrayal. Maybe it was just burnout. But deep down, something had already curdled. Something that wouldn't let me sleep. Wouldn't let me eat. Wouldn't let me stop playing back every missed detail, every moment I chalked up to stress or timing or overthinking. Becca used to fall asleep with her legs tangled in mine. Now she faced the wall. I used to make her coffee every morning. Now I couldn't remember the last time I heard her say thank you. And maybe the worst part? I started lying to myself. I told myself I'd bring it up when the time was right. When she wasn't busy. When we had a quiet moment. But those moments never came. She made sure of it. She was always in a rush. Always late for something. Always halfway out the door, promising we'd talk soon. And I let her go. Every time. Because I was afraid of the answer. Because some part of me still hoped this was all a phase, a work obsession, a mid-career meltdown, a rough patch we'd joke about years from now. But then Thursday came. And I stopped hoping. Thursday night. That was the night everything stopped being theory. We were in the kitchen. I was reheating leftovers. She was grabbing a granola bar, said she had an evening briefing with the development team. The phrase alone felt sterile. Cold. Like it was scripted. She kissed my cheek without looking me in the eye. I asked if she wanted me to wait up. She laughed. Don't be ridiculous, Jake. I'll probably be home late. And then she was gone. Out the door in that long black coat she never wears unless she wants to look sharp without looking like she's trying. The coat she wore on our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. I stood there holding a plate of reheated pasta, the microwave still beeping behind me. I didn't decide to follow her. Not in the conscious, premeditated sense. I didn't grab my keys thinking I'm going to catch her. It was more like my body moved before my brain caught up. Like instinct had finally taken the wheel after weeks of me ignoring it. I left the pasta on the counter and drove with the lights off until I hit the main road. My heart wasn't racing. It was slow. Steady. Like I already knew what I was about to find. Her car was in the lot behind the office building. Alone at first. Then, less than 5 minutes later, another set of headlights pulled in. A dark blue Subaru, Jason's. I'd seen him drive it before, always parked crooked in the lot like the rules didn't apply to him. They didn't go inside. I watched from a side street, engine off, window cracked. The kind of stillness where even your breath feels loud. They sat in his car. The dome light came on for a moment when he climbed in, illuminating them both. She was laughing. His hand rested on the back of her seat. Then the light shut off and they were silhouettes. For a long time, nothing happened. Just shapes. Just stillness. Just the slow, creeping awareness that whatever they were saying in there, it wasn't about work. Not at 9:17 p.m. in a dark parking lot. Then it happened. She leaned in. He did too. And they kissed. Not the guilty kind, not rushed or hidden or awkward. It was slow. Familiar. Like they'd done it before. Like they knew each other. I watched it happen, and the thing I remember most? I didn't feel a surge of rage. I didn't cry. I didn't grab the steering wheel or yell or picture throwing open the door to catch them red-handed. I just deflated. Like all the questions I'd been spinning in my head finally had their answer. All the little signs, the lies she wrapped in soft tones, the glances she avoided, they all pointed to this. And now it was real. Now it was undeniable. They kissed again. Longer this time. I turned the key in the ignition, still quiet. Drove off without turning the headlights on until I was 3 blocks away. I didn't look back. Didn't need to. That scene was burned into my memory, clear, permanent, final. I didn't go home right away. I drove aimlessly for a while, past our favorite pizza place, the park where we used to jog, the gas station she once made me turn around for because she liked their coffee more. Everything looked the same, but it wasn't. I pulled into an empty grocery store parking lot and sat there with the engine running. Just breathing. Just trying to keep my hands from shaking. It wasn't just about the kiss. It was about what it meant. She had been choosing him in the lies, in the avoidance, in the subtle shifts that only made sense now that I had context. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to expose her. I just wanted the truth, and now I had it. When I got home, she wasn't back yet. I took a shower. Hot. Pointless. Scrubbing something I couldn't rinse off. By the time I stepped out, I could hear her moving around the kitchen. Cabinet doors. Her phone buzzing. She hadn't noticed I was back yet. I walked out in sweatpants and a t-shirt, the same clothes I wore when we first moved into this place. Back when we were broke but happy and split ramen noodles on the floor. She turned around, startled. "Hey," she said, too casual. "Didn't hear you come in." I nodded. She opened the fridge. "I'm starving. You want anything?" "No," I said. My voice came out even. Too even. She didn't look at me when she pulled out the hummus. Just kept moving. I watched her like a stranger in my own home. Like someone peeking through a window. She was humming. Humming. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just betrayed me. That was the moment it really hit me, not that she cheated, but that she could compartmentalize this so easily. And I couldn't. That night, I lay in bed facing the ceiling again. She came to bed like always. Slipped under the sheets. Turned off her bedside lamp and curled her back to me like always. And I just stared upward. The ceiling fan spinning slow circles above me, each rotation echoing that image of her kissing him. The kiss was so quiet. So deliberate. Like a punctuation mark on months of deception. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I needed to understand what came next. Because I needed a plan, not for revenge. For myself. This wasn't a storm I needed to weather. It was a house on fire. And for the first time I was ready to stop pretending it wasn't burning. I didn't tell anyone that night. Not my brother. Not my best friend. Not even my journal, which I'd half-heartedly kept during lockdowns just to hear myself think. Instead, I showed up at work Monday morning like it was any other day, button down, fresh shave, forced smile. But the second I walked through the doors, I knew something was off. You ever feel the weight of eyes without seeing them? That sticky kind of silence that clings to you as you pass? That's what it was like. The elevator ride to my floor was too quiet. A few coworkers gave me those quick, awkward half-smiles, the kind people offer when they know something they shouldn't. And when I walked into the break room, it felt like I'd stepped into a vacuum. 2 guys from Becca's department, Marcus and Anna, were mid-conversation until they saw me. Then total shutdown. Anna muttered something about needing to check a printer. Marcus stared into his coffee like it held a portal. That's when I knew. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just her. Other people had known. Probably for weeks. Maybe months. Becca's department was tight, all that startup energy the we're a family nonsense companies use to keep people from clocking out on time. I'd always joked that half of their meetings were just group therapy and business casual. Apparently, I wasn't wrong. Only this time I was the subject. At lunch, I went back through our old Slack threads, the shared channels where Becca and I used to send each other memes or quick, what's for dinner, check-ins. I hadn't looked at them in a while. Buried in the scroll were jokes I'd missed. Subtle digs. References to The Affair of the Year and Don Draper vibes. Someone had even dropped a gif of a man in slippers bringing wine to a woman kissing someone else, tagged with Becca's weekend energy. It clicked. Dad in slippers. That was me. They weren't just laughing behind my back, they were making a game of it. Turning my life into punchlines and emojis. That was the moment something broke. Not my heart that had happened Thursday. Not my trust that had eroded over weeks. What snapped was my silence. I went home early. Sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop. I didn't yell. Didn't rant. I didn't even write in all caps. Instead, I opened a blank email and began typing. To all@outcompany.com. Subject, regarding recent internal conduct. Hi everyone. Some of you already know. Some of you guessed. And some of you thought it was funny. Becca has been involved in a personal relationship with Jason W., her colleague, for what I now know has been several months. This in itself is not illegal, though given Jason's leadership role on certain projects, it does raise ethical concerns. What I didn't expect was the response from those around them, the jokes, the encouragement, the enabling. I've seen your Slack messages. The nicknames. The funny comments. The radio silence from those who might have said something. I won't name names here. That's not what this is about. This is about accountability. This is about the cost of silence and what it means to stand by while someone's marriage becomes your happy hour entertainment. You don't owe me sympathy. I'm not asking for that. But I do hope, going forward, you remember that silence is complicity. And that real integrity doesn't just show up in boardrooms or pitches, it shows up in break rooms, DMs, and quiet conversations where people choose between decency and convenience. Best. Jake. I read it twice. Made no edits. Hit send. I didn't breathe for a full minute. Then I closed the laptop and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed HR. A meeting request for Becca. Then one for Jason. Then another. An hour later, 3 Slack profiles quietly deactivated. I got one message, just one, from a junior dev named Oliver. I barely knew him. It said, "You didn't deserve that." And you're right. Most of us stayed quiet. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't reply. Didn't need to. I wasn't out for revenge. This wasn't about burning it all down. This was about clearing the air. Because for months, I'd been breathing in lies. Swallowing my own instincts. Playing the fool in a show where everyone else had read the script. And now? Now the script was done. That night, Becca came home late again. No apology. Just tension. Just careful movements. She made pasta like nothing had changed. I watched her stir sauce while I sat at the counter, letting silence speak louder than any fight could. When she finally asked, "Rough day?" I just said, "Not anymore." She looked at me for a long second. Like she wanted to ask something. Like she knew. But instead, she went back to stirring. No one said anything else. Not during dinner. Not after. She went to bed early. I stayed up late. I watched the sky turn dark over the backyard, our string lights still flickering from last summer. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt something crack open inside me. Not pain. Not even clarity. Something else. Something like breath. After the email went out, things didn't explode the way I thought they might. They didn't implode either. They just went quiet. No outbursts. No big dramatic scenes. Not even a text from Becca that day. It was as if the entire building had taken a deep, collective breath and held it. When Becca came home Monday night, she didn't ask if I was the one who sent the email. She didn't say a word about it. She walked in, took off her coat, and said, "I picked up salmon. Want me to grill it?" Like we were fine. Like nothing had happened. Like the elephant in the room was wearing camouflage and no one was supposed to mention it. I stared at her. Not angrily. Not bitterly. Just like I was watching someone else's wife make dinner in my house. And that scared me more than anything. Because something had shifted, not in her, but in me. That night, we ate in front of the TV. She put on one of our shows, that quirky crime series we always watched while dissecting every twist like amateur detectives. She laughed at the same jokes, nudged me during the credits, and I sat there, still, distant, numb. I didn't touch her leg like I used to, didn't refill her wine, didn't even ask how her day was, because I didn't care. Not out of cruelty, out of loss. That invisible tether between us? It had frayed, snapped, and drifted into something neither of us could name. Becca didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even apologize. It was like she was waiting for me to pretend to. But I couldn't. I stopped making her coffee in the mornings. Stopped asking when she'd be home. If she texted that she was working late, I didn't respond. Not coldly, just nothing. No reaction. Like her words didn't land anymore. And they didn't. She'd wake up to silence. Go to bed with it too. We moved around each other like furniture. Like old coworkers in the same office after a layoff, both pretending everything was still operational. One night, she came into the bedroom wearing my hoodie. The soft gray one she always stole when she was sick or hungover or just feeling clingy. She looked at me like it was a peace offering. I said nothing. She got into bed, turned away. The next morning, there was a sticky note on my laptop, hope today's better. I made eggs, smiley face. I left it there all day. Didn't eat the eggs. Didn't throw the note away either. Just let it sit like a leaf on the surface of a pond, floating, weightless, already forgotten. A few days later, she suggested we go out dinner downtown, just us. We haven't been out in forever, she said, hopeful. Maybe it'd be nice. I didn't even look up from my phone. We don't do nice things anymore. Her face fell. Jake? I finally met her eyes. I'm not angry, I said. I just don't believe you anymore. And that's what cut her. Not the silence. Not the detachment. Not the cold shoulder. It was that word, believe. Because for someone like Becca, whose whole life was built on confidence and persuasion and making people trust her with things, clients, coworkers, projects, not being believed was a wound she couldn't bandage. She started trying harder after that. Made dinner more. Put on music when I got home. Wore the earrings I gave her last Christmas. Cleaned the bathroom, even folded my laundry. Brought up old memories, remember our weekend in Asheville? Or that weird diner with the jukebox? And I'd nod. Smile sometimes. But inside? Nothing. Because it wasn't the memories I missed. It was the us that used to live inside them. And that version of us was gone. Dead. Buried under layers of dishonesty and performance. One night, she sat down next to me with a photo album, the one from our first road trip, with Polaroids of us in hotel robes and blurry sunsets through the windshield. She flipped through them slowly, narrating little moments. I let her. When she got to the last page, she looked up. I still love you, Jake, she whispered. I know I screwed up. I know I don't deserve a second chance. But I'm not giving up on us. I didn't say anything right away. I took the album from her hands, closed it gently, and set it aside. Then I looked at her, not the woman in the photos, not the person she used to be, but the stranger sitting in my living room trying to rewind time. I don't want grand gestures, I said softly. I don't want grilled salmon or hoodies or scrapbooks. I wanted the truth. When it mattered. And you couldn't give it. She blinked fast like the words were darts. I stood up. I'm not mad anymore, Becca. I'm just not yours. She didn't cry. She nodded. Her lip trembled, but no tears fell. Because deep down she knew. There was no coming back from this. No explosion. No screaming match. Just silence. Heavy, final. And in a way that hurt more than yelling ever could. Because it meant the ending wasn't a moment. It was a slow erosion. And the damage was already done.